What is up, Podvengers? Welcome to a bonus episode of the Podtastic Four. Today's just Luis and I. Araya and Graham are out. They got things going on, but Luis and
They
I are
have
here to
they
talk
have
about some.
legal issues.
They have legal issues. This is all just fake news. This is fake. This is false. They're out. They'll be
One,
back in the future. Right now, Luis and I are just here to talk to you guys about some DC news that just dropped.
yeah, DC
Uh,
decided to just ruin everybody's night by dropping a heap load of news today concerning the future of their um cinematic universe,
yeah,
I
the
guess we could call it, and
DCEU.
yeah,
I
the
guess
DCEU and
it's
everybody
being
involved.
being
Yeah.
coined, being christened as the DC cinematic universe. Which
So
I
we're
mean,
here
that's
to
great.
discuss all these news, yeah, that they just dropped on us on a whim.
Yeah. So Luis and I were just discussing earlier about how we're literally all this news came out at one time, and like it's almost like the world stood still for a second. I was on my phone scrolling. I'm still scrolling. I'm trying to see if something new has popped up.
That's a bit hyperbolic, but yes,
It is
it was it was a big deal.
but yeah, it's good. I mean, it's important because if you think about where DC's trying to go and where they currently are,
Mhm.
this is huge updates that everyone's asking the same question. Where do they go moving forward
See,
from,
what I was going to ask is, do you think it's important to preface this conversation by asking, do you think, oh, I don't know if this was answered or not. I didn't have a lot of time to look over the tweets. That's
Mhm.
mostly what you did. But has it been confirmed whether or not James Gunn and the other guy
Peter
who,
Safran.
yeah, is it confirmed that they're the ones who pulled the plug on everything?
So I haven't had a chance to fully, dive into that article from the Hollywood Reporter,
Hmm.
but from what I've seen, I think they have a roadmap in place. What I've heard is that similar to Kevin Feige's plan for the MCU, going with the whole phases and building an
Hmm.
actual a genuinely connected universe across not just their movies coming up, but their shows. With like Peacemaker
Yeah.
and how successful that was.
To be honest,
But
I think it makes a lot of sense that they're like, hey, everything that involves the DC cinematic universe that we are not involved with, we're just gonna cancel everything and get rid of it. And he's
and
like
that's kind of
everything, and he's like everything after like everything that's been confirmed already and that's coming out, i.e., Blue Beetle, Shazam,
mhm,
Aquaman 2, and I mean that's
the
basically,
Flash.
and the Flash. Yeah. Other than that, everything's like okay, cut, canceled, done. We're starting anew. We're kind of rebooting everything. So I mean that makes sense. Like Wonder Woman 3 not not getting made, not no other Aquaman sequels getting made. After the Flash, that probably nothing else will get made that involves like the Zack Snyder's DCEU characters. No Man of Steel sequel getting made. It makes a lot of sense, and I know a lot of people like DC fanboys and fans are kind of upset about it. But I mean, what did you expect them to do? There's no way they could have juggled or handled multiple different timelines and multiple different stories dealing with the same characters, but alternate versions of the same characters in different universe. It would have been way too complicated. So it makes sense that he's just kind of like, nope, pull the plug on everything. We're starting anew. Everything from going forward from this point on is part of the same universe. Everything before that doesn't matter. It's its own little thing. We're not going to worry about that or focus on that or those actors, all those characters, or those filmmakers. This is like a new kind of, and I think, some people think it might be a little bit harsh, but logistically speaking, I think it makes um, a lot of sense. I think it was a good idea moving forward for DC, and props to James Gunn and Safran for doing that.
No, I could not agree more because I've been saying for the longest time, especially after Batman versus Superman, I was kind of like, maybe they can find a way to salvage it. But after Justice League, I was like, no, no, you gotta reset this whole thing. And you know
Hmm.
what they did? They ignored my advice and kept making movies.
And that's what they and look at
And
them
this
now.
is
And this is what they
look at
get.
them now. Look at where they're at.
Exactly.
This
No,
is what happens.
but
So
see,
like
but
what they should have. Oh, was up?
no, no, I was gonna say, I think that's a very fair point. I think after like what we saw, what happened in Batman versus Superman, I think DC, I don't know, was Walter Hamada at the head of DC at that point. I'm not sure. But sorry, terrible reporting, guys. I apologize. But it's like whoever was in charge of DC at that point should have like taken a 3 steps back and like just kind of looked at everything from a third person perspective and said, "Yo, hey, what are we doing? Where are we going? This movie did not work. You know,
Yeah,
Justice
and
League did not work. Why are we still pursuing this?" And then they let fucking Matt Reeves make the Batman, and then they let um what's his face make the Joker, and it's like, what are you guys doing? Like
yeah,
you guys are so lost. You have no plan. You have no idea what you're trying to do, and I don't know. It seems like they're trying to have their cake and eat it, you know. And it's like we'll work with filmmakers who we think are talented and who we want to give them an opportunity to play in our sandbox and use these characters and bring their visions to life. But other than that, we have no idea what we're trying to do. And so
and
I don't know.
that was the main problem with DC during the rise of the MCU. There was no cohesion across the whole
The
universe as a
stories,
whole.
yeah.
The stories were everywhere. They had the DCEU, which was, termed the Snyderverse because of the Man of Steel movies and Wonder Woman, Batman vs
Hmm.
Superman. All those movies were all connected in a sense, loosely connected, but connected nonetheless until it built up to Justice League.
Right.
And then we had, like you said, Joker, which is another version of Gotham, another timeline or universe of Gotham. And then
Hmm.
you had the Batman came out this year, which honestly, and you and I talked about this when we all saw the Batman around the same time. We both
Uh-huh.
said the same thing. This is where they should have launched the new DCU from there.
Exactly.
It's a good
Exactly.
starting point. It's a very good starting point because it's
Eh,
a brand new, fresh out of the League of Assassins Batman,
mhm.
getting his feet wet
And
versus the 45-year-old Bruce Wayne Batman that we got in BVS.
see, and even let's say they do use the Batman and Matt Reeves Batverse as kind of the jumping off point. This just goes to show like what a shit show like DC is, because what are we gonna is the Suicide Squad canon? You know, is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad canon? Is Peacemaker canon?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we completely disregarding those as well? You know,
It's up in the
and
air.
will James Gunn as an artist be able to kind of separate himself from that idea, right? Like, will he be like, this thing that I worked really hard on, that I'm very proud of, that I think the fans liked for the most part. Am I just gonna have to completely disregard that as well? And it's like it's just they're in a very complicated situation. But I think what's very interesting is the first bit of news that kind of came out was what that Henry Cavill's The
Oh,
Flash cameo is probably going to get cut, right?
I
I
think
think that's a very
the first news I saw, or at least the first one that I tweeted off the page, I'll pull it up real quick.
Mhm.
Speaking of the page, follow us on Twitter at the Podtastic Four with the number four. Had to promote. The first tweet I made off the page and this was just as the news was coming out. We post things as we see them. We don't try and we don't have access to the leakers and insiders that everyone else has. We're just a brand new podcast. For those of y'all who are listening, we're completely fan run by the fans for the fans. That's our little tagline. So like I said, we don't have any funding. We're not sponsored by DC to make this episode. We're not sponsored by Marvel to make our Marvel episodes. We're not sponsored by Lionsgate or whatever other movies we talk about. This is all fan made. Anyways, enough of that nonsense. You don't want to hear that. You want to hear the DC stuff. The first tweet I made off the page was the Wonder Woman news. Wonder Woman 3 was the first thing I saw that was said to not no longer be moving forward,
Mm,
which after the lack of success from like Wonder Woman 84, I understand that. I can totally understand that. Um it's a shame because I really liked the first Wonder Woman.
mhm.
It was fantastic to me. Honestly, out of the Snyder DC movies, that one was probably the one I had
Yeah,
the least quarrels with.
agreed.
It was good. Storyline made sense, and the action was great. Perfect use
Mhm.
of slow motion. It wasn't overused. Every like 5 seconds, somebody was like,
Yeah.
it was great. It was perfect.
But it's like I
And
said
then
earlier that it seems like everything that was connected to Zack Snyder's universe, or made around the same time, or kind of associated to that era of DC
Hmm.
cinema is just kind of like being completely gutted, you know. Like we
And
know a couple of weeks ago we had all those reports about Black Adam being an absolute horrendous flop, and then now we're getting like Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's being canceled. Henry Cavill had, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen Black Adam, made a cameo in Black Adam, and then he dropped
hmm
from The Witcher, and so people are like, oh my gosh, he's getting ready to like come back as Superman and make a another Man of Steel movie, but apparently that's not happening either. And then
yeah,
he's getting cut from he apparently already filmed a cameo in The Flash, and that they're considering cutting that as well, you know. And so I'm just, you know, it seems like they're doubling down on, hey, the Zack Snyderverse is done. Done with it.
it's
We're
almost
not.
like Gunn. Oh, go ahead, go ahead. My bad.
Not. It's almost like what?
I was going to say it's almost like Gunn and Safran walked in there with like an axe, and they're like, "All right,
We're literally axing
and just
everything. Yeah, we're
axing
axing all
everything."
of it. Yeah,
Because
and
like
because and I know
this,
what. Sorry, sorry.
I was just gonna say the cameo thing because I had posted about the cameo. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, he had filmed the cameo for the Flash."
Mm-hmm.
And then like immediately afterwards, they're like Man of Steel 2 in jeopardy, the Flash cameo of Superman in jeopardy. I was like, I just tweeted about this being out there, and now it's gonna
Yeah.
be axed potentially. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, they're literally cleaning house, and it makes sense. You know, you're gonna clear what was there, clear the baggage, and
Yeah.
just build
Exactly.
something completely fresh. So that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense to why they're cutting. And it sucks because I actually like Henry Cavill as a Superman, as a
You can
guy.
find you
Even
can
he's a good.
find you can find other nice you know, have a very cut jawline, super swole, attractive white dudes to play Superman. It'll be fine.
That's true. I
There's an
mean,
abundance of them in Hollywood. You will be okay.
you're right. I just feel like he hasn't been given the right room to
Agreed.
grow as yeah
I
to
get
grow
it,
as a
and
character.
I know he was really fond of the character and the franchise, and he wanted he you know, I think a lot of people wish he had the opportunity to do so, but I mean, we're not gonna. Everyone will be okay if Henry Cavill doesn't get another run as Superman. It'll be fine, you know.
It just begs the question: what are they going to do moving forward? How are they going to relaunch their universe? Because they're not only are they dropping or potentially dropping
But
Man
they're
of Steel
recasting
2.
motherfuckers as
They're
well.
gonna recast. They're probably gonna recast him. They're recasting Aquaman. The Aquaman franchise is gonna be dead in the water, pun intended.
Remember when people were like, "What?" They're like, "Oh," when all those reports that Jason Momoa was gonna play
To be
Lobo.
Lobo, yeah,
Yeah, and
people are
people
like,
are like,
nah,
"How
it
are you
can't
gonna be
happen.
Aquaman and Lobo in the same universe? That makes no sense." Well, now they're
Nope,
not making another Aquaman movie, and
there's
they're
your
gonna
answer.
recast them as Lobo. So
Exactly. And you know, side note before we continue getting into these, we're gonna do a DC theme. We're gonna do several DC themed episodes throughout the rest of our career here at the Podtastic Four.
tenure, the rest of our tenure.
Our tenure. Thank you for that. We're gonna do a DC episode where we'll do like possible casting
Hmm.
predictions or suggestions or fan cast, what have you. Um, Glenn Powell for Green Lantern. Anyways, but we'll do a DC episode where we talk about what we think will happen moving forward as far as casting, rumors, plot lines, what adaptations they can do moving forward,
Hmm.
all that good stuff. But for now, we're still trying to process the bomb that was dropped today
Yeah,
on December 7th, 2022.
I
But
had
yeah,
this tweet that Gal Gadot had
although is
had
it the one I
tweeted
sent?
yesterday. Yeah, she
Yeah,
said, if you what was this her saying like that she just wants to continue playing Wonder Woman or what?
I think so. That tweet, I'm pretty sure. Let me see if I can
So
find it
for those
again.
who haven't seen it, it just says a few years ago, it was announced that I was going to play Wonder Woman. I've been so grateful for the opportunity to play such an incredible, iconic character, and more than anything, I'm grateful for you, the fans. Can't wait to share her next chapter with you. That was yesterday,
I
and
like how
then
you
and then
read
they
that like
canned, and then they canned the entire Wonder Woman series. That's what she gets for supporting the murdering of Palestinian children.
she
We should we
what?
she should have been canceled a long time ago. Anyways, that's besides the point. Uh, but yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to discuss. You know, it's just basically that they've just, you know, it seems like James Gunn and Safran have a really clear vision for what they want to do with DC, and they understand that they need to start anew, and that they need to rid themselves of all the controversy and mixed feelings and kind of baggage, that comes with the prior tenure at DC, and all those movies and all those actors and all those characters. And like I said earlier, I think that's the best way to go about it. It's to
Yeah,
start anew and start fresh, and see what they do. And we had discussed this before, off camera and off and not on the pod, but you know, if anybody, if I trust James Gunn to 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 do at least a decent job, because he's going to at least treat the material with respect, and and with childlike wonder, and I think
with
he's a pretty,
care.
and with care, yeah, and with love and affection, and I think he's a competent enough filmmaker to understand what it takes to make a quality movie, a quality superhero movie. And I know that he will hire the right people and let them, you know, cook, let them make the movie they want to make, right? And if James Gunn signs off on a filmmaker to make a superhero movie, then I will respect James Gunn's decision, because I think he has a pretty good what's it called?
Track record.
Yeah, pretty good track record, and I think he knows what he's doing in regards to these films. So
I mean, look at what he's done so far with the Marvel. Look at all the Guardian. Like, how many people went in besides those of us diehard fans and all that good stuff? How many people? How many casuals walked into walked into a movie theater and was like, "Oh my gosh, it's freaking Groot, it's Drax, it's named off all the
mhm,
Guardians." Nobody knew them like that.
mhm,
If you read the comics, then yeah, if you've been with this Marvel thing for years,
mhm,
then yeah. Like when I heard about Guardians coming out, I was like, yeah, let's go. I'm ready. I know about this. I know about this. I'm ready to
yeah,
see it. I want to see it. But
yeah.
then I saw James Gunn was attached to it. I was like, oh, he's about to go in. This
But that
man
just
is
goes
smart.
to show what, like we mentioned earlier, like just the amount of care and love and respect that he has for these stories, right? And
Mhm.
willing to
And
to uh, put in the work to give the audience an adequate adaptation um, on the screen. What I was actually wondering is, so what does this mean about the tone of the DCCU
well,
moving forward? Like, do you think it'll change? Do you think we'll have a more James Gunn, for lack of a better term, James Gunn-esque uh, tone and feel and vibe to these stories moving forward? Or do you think it'll be all over the place and James Gunn will just be like, hey, you're the filmmaker, you make the movie you want to make, even if, and some might be a little bit darker, a little bit heavier, like, the Batman, and some might be a little lighter, like maybe I feel like Blue Beetle might be, or maybe the Suicide Squad, or something like that, but then he'll let people make the Joker and the Batman and what have you? Or do you think he'll just kind of be like, this is the overall tone, this is the overall feel for what these movies are, let's kind of stick to that. But other than that, you can, I'll give you guys a little bit of leeway and you can work with it.
I think what he'll do is kind of a workaround of that second option you mentioned. What they'll have a roadmap. Phase one, insert these characters, these movies here. Phase two,
Mm-hmm.
these characters, these movies, all the way on and on, just the same way Marvel has their formula.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he'll make sure all the stories are all connected across the movies and the TV shows, and he even mentioned the video games too.
Oh, really?
But yeah, they're gonna be connected across the entirety of basically everything.
Every
So
medium.
mhm. I don't know what that means for animation. We'll get into that one on another episode.
Right,
But
right, right.
yeah, as far as like the movies, TV shows, even the video games, they're gonna try and make everything be connected.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what he might do is like what you just said, let the stories be connected, but let each director have kind of their own touch, their own breath of air into their project.
Right.
Because Suicide Squad, that was a funny movie. It was a good action film. It was comedic. It had a
And it
story.
and,
It
and
had
it had
heart to
heart.
it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it had heart to it. The Batman, dark as can be,
Mm-hmm.
and that's perfect because that's how Batman's supposed to be.
Right.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be every single character, every single movie is just dark and gritty. No shade to Snyder and everything
Yeah,
that he did.
all the
Uh,
shade to Snyder.
there's no shade that, or rather, no disrespect on my end, because
All the disrespect on
I
Luis's end.
understand him as a a director and his vision and all that. It just doesn't work for DC.
Mm.
It works for a movie like 300. It works for Watchmen. It does not work for the greater DC as a
Watchmen
whole.
is DC
This
though, technically.
well,
But anyway,
yeah, we
I
but
get what you're saying.
you get what I mean.
No,
Not like
I just think it doesn't work. I
like
just
look at
think
Superman. You can't
I don't
have.
know. I think letting, and again, I don't know, this might be a problem because I was gonna say letting a director,
Mhm.
a filmmaker be in charge of an entire universe like that is probably where DC uh messed up. You know, Kevin Feige is not a director, he's a producer, right? He's more of an ideas guy, right? He lets other
Mhm.
people kind of take care of everything else. And Zack Snyder is a filmmaker, and I don't know. I feel that kind of affected them. That's why now they have both James Gunn and Safran running
Mhm.
DC together. They didn't just let James Gunn do it because I think they learned from their mistake of letting Zack Snyder, a filmmaker and an artist, you know, do whatever he wanted with it. And they're probably like, that's not. We need somebody to kind of handle like the creative filmmaking, storytelling aspects, and then we need another person to think bigger picture and think financials and logistics and kind of all the other non-filmmaking aspects of the universe. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I think they're doing. I think everything we've heard thus far, everything. It's been like a thing or two. Just everywhere, every statement that James Gunn has released, plus these news that were just released. I think James Gunn and Safran and DC are moving in the right direction. It's just a matter of seeing whatever the first movie that they make under this new leadership. I think is going to be very important because
Ooh,
that's
you
gonna
know,
what?
you just brought up a good point. Whatever movie, whatever is their first movie that they make. If you think
Yeah,
about all the stuff that's about to come out, Shazam to Aquaman to The Flash, Blue
Blue
Beetle,
Beetle.
it was all made prior to
Yeah,
James
of
Gunn
course.
and Peter Safran being
Uh-huh.
put as CEOs. Is that gonna? They're just gonna delete all that, throw
Yeah.
that out.
Yep.
What movie are they gonna make first? Are they gonna just pivot off of the Batman? That'll
I don't know.
be
That's what I'm saying.
and
That whatever movie it is that whatever is the movie that they decide to relaunch their new DC cinematic universe with is gonna carry a lot of weight. It's gonna be very important, right?
it's
Because it's
gonna
gonna be
get
the beginning of
compared. It's
well,
gonna
not
get
only
compared
that,
to
but
Iron Man a lot too. They're gonna be like,
sure,
this is the first movie of Phase One
yeah,
DCU.
but
This
I
movie has
think
to be a knockout.
DC and Warner Brothers and the new heads of the studio need to kind of like just completely disregard Marvel and don't even worry about that. You know, like that train and that battle has been long lost, and that train is long gone, and that ship has sailed a long time ago. It's a matter of focusing on right now, right? Telling the best stories you can possibly tell. Focus on hiring the right people, the right filmmakers, the right actors, the right producers, everybody, to make to make the best quality product that you can. And I think if they do that, they'll win the audience over on their side because if they tried playing catch up and it didn't work. Look how it turned out, right? They're just trying to
Mhm.
rush out all this mediocre garbage, and they shot themselves in the foot. So I think they need to just focus on making a good story and making a good movie or TV show, whatever it is they decide to do, just making sure that it's a quality product and the people will rally behind them and just continue doing so. And if they hit more oftentimes than they miss, then that's a good gamble to make, But that whatever the first movie is gonna have to is gonna it's gonna be very important for them because if it flops and it sucks, then it's going to be very hard to win. I think the audience and the fans back. You know, it's going to be hard to win them over because disappointment after disappointment after disappointment.
Yeah, it's exactly. That's one. That's the air I'm getting on Twitter right now. Everyone's really they're confused, obviously, by all the axings or potential axings of
Hmm.
all the stuff moving forward. They want to know how it's going to affect the greater universe, what's going to come up next with, I don't know, all the because I'm just now thinking, we got the Penguin show, the Gotham PD show that's going to come out too. What
Yeah,
happens with that? All that stuff. So it's safe to say that at least now they have a better chance of, I don't want to say playing catch up, because like you said, that's kind of dead. That idea is dead. But what
right.
they're doing is building something like building something structured, rather than throwing movies and throwing money at movies just to make movies to pretend like you're catching up. All you're doing is throwing, a Snapchat
Hmm.
filter on an otherwise ugly world. You
Oh, that
gotta,
analogy.
I'm here, I'm cooking.
I was gonna say, I
you
think an important aspect also to think about is the fact that David Zaslav has proven himself to be um, very. I mean, he's not scared to axe things.
to cut, yeah, to
David's,
cut
yeah, to
projects
cut
off.
projects. I mean, we saw what happened with Batgirl, right? And we've seen with
Unfortunately.
all the shows that he's cut from HBO Max
Hmm.
and projects that he's put on hold and just completely axed and in an effort to save money, because I know Warner Brothers Discovery is in a lot of debt. But so I think that's a very important aspect to the story as well, and something to think about, right? Because Disney has all the money in the world. And so
Oh yeah.
these Marvel movies don't have to worry about that. But maybe that's something that James Gunn and Peter have to, you know, it has to be weighing on the back of their minds when making decisions and I don't know. It seems like a hard job and I sure as hell would not want to be in either of their position. But hey,
I guess a good way to end this emergency. Oh well, to end this emergency bonus episode, just to say, we'll see as the days go by, as time goes on. We'll definitely see after. I think Shazam 2 is the first, or the next. Excuse me, the next DC movie in
mhm,
theaters. Right now, Black Adam's still in theaters.
like
If you
ask them,
wanna, if you wanna watch it, watch it. If you don't want to watch it, no one's gonna judge you. I
except for
watched
The
it.
Rock.
The Rock will judge you. I watched it. I liked it. But it was still missing something for me the more I keep thinking about it. And now we're about to see the next four projects going into the future of the DCU. Um, well, we'll probably be taking it the day at a time as
Hmm.
fans, as viewers, and they're going to be taking it a day at a time too, building up to their relaunch, or I put that in air quotes, relaunch of the DCU. With that being said, I guess we can close this episode out. If you liked this episode, go ahead and give us a 5-star review on whatever you're listening to this on: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. Like our video on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube at the Podtastic Four. Follow us on Twitter at the Podtastic Four with the number 4. On Instagram and TikTok, follow us at the Podtastic Four, completely spelled out. Go ahead and blow up our pages. We can't do this without you guys' support. We appreciate all the support we get. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank y'all for tuning in, listening to us ramble on about the DCU, new news, new information. And tune in for episode 3 of the Podtastic Four, our next episode, where we discuss Redacted. I won't spoil it.
We discussed a couple movies that came out earlier this year. That just we know they've been out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's just our thoughts and feelings on certain movies that have come out this year. And we know that we just want to let you guys know that it's just because we want to cover a broad uh, as broad a scope as possible. Not just comic books and comic book movies and stuff, but we want to talk about capital C cinema
And that's
and
one of the
go for it.
I was just saying that's one of the things we wanted to make clear, during our first episode and every other episode that we record going on in the future. Like, we're not just Marvel, we're not just DC. We are everything. We talk about, small indie films. We talk about A24. We talk about We're gonna start talking about Bollywood movies soon. I love Bollywood movies.
There we
Man,
go.
we're gonna go ahead and watch everything. Video games, music, you name it, we discuss it.
Mhm.
And that's
Politics.
big.
No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Maybe, who knows? We'll
No, no.
see. But
We'll get
mostly
docs.
we will get docs. We'll get axed. We'll get Wonder Woman 3'd. We'll get that was terrible. Don't let that take away from y'all's love for this podcast. But yes, thank you guys for tuning in. And we'll catch you next time on the Podtastic Four. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.